The reason I focus on authority versus responsibility is because sometimes you really have to take a step back to figure out, do I truly have authority over this thing, this person, this item? And if I don't have full authority over that item, should I take on responsibility of it? Because there's a consequence to taking on responsibility of something that you have no authority over.
Bro, what the fuck are you even talking about? The men want control. Like, so they go to great lengths to gain access, to gain control, to gain power, just so they can abuse it.
Let's cut the bull. Most men don't want a partner. They want a possession. They don't want love. They want control.
Or mentioning why this man wants to control me or why he's so controlling. It's for one reason and one reason only. Control makes him feel safe. That's all it is. Some guys don't believe that their woman will choose them day in and day out. They don't really trust her devotion or her loyalty. So by controlling her, they believe that if I can control this person, then they'll stay.
Men are very insecure, and insecurity in a man is very dangerous for anybody around him, for himself, but definitely is very dangerous for the women in his life, or the woman in his life. And the number one way that I see insecurity show up when it comes to men in relationships is they do everything they possibly can to control a woman. They do everything they can to control a woman, financially, emotionally. You know, they'll impregnate women to trap them. They'll convince a woman to quit her job so the woman now has to rely on him financially, economically. They'll move a woman, 2 states away so she can't have a robust, network of people to lean on and a community to go back to, all that type of stuff. Like men go out of their way to control women all the time in various ways. Lying to women is also a huge part of control. Not being honest with women, not being vulnerable with women, huge part of control, right? She doesn't know you, you know her. It's easier to manipulate her, obviously. But that's what the desire for where the desire for control comes from, in my estimation. It comes from a deep-rooted, deep-seated insecurity that resides in men. I do still find it funny though. I'm still like a little taken aback when I hear men openly talking about control and seeking it. Because it should be taboo to say it out loud at this point, but there's still some men out here saying it out loud. And yeah, we need to believe them. We need to believe them.
The reason I focus on authority versus responsibility is because sometimes you really have to take a step back to figure out, do I truly have authority over this thing, this person, this item? And if I don't have full authority over that item, should I take on responsibility of it? Because there's a consequence to taking on responsibility of something that you have no authority over. For example, if I'm responsible for my child, but I can't tell my child when to walk in and out of the house, now when that child goes through things or they get into a situation at night, now I'm the one who's responsible for going out, finding them wherever they are and bringing them home. So if I don't have authority to tell you, no, you cannot leave the house at 10 p.m., how am I supposed to take responsibility for what happens to you outside of that? It would be unfair for me to take responsibility when I had no authority to tell you not to leave the house. Now I'm the only one suffering because you get to do what you want. You leave the house at 10 p.m. Nobody told you to go outside. I told you not to do that. Now you get yourself in a situation where you've gotten arrested or whatever the situation is. And now I'm the one who's responsible for coming out there at 3 a.m. or whatever it is and resolving the problem. The reason I focus.
Bro, what the fuck are you even talking about? What the fuck are you even talking about? First of all, this dude is clearly unstable mentally, but calling women things, comparing them to things, and comparing them to children, red flag. Huge red flag. Nothing you're talking about is common for women. A woman will go out at 10 o'clock and come home at 3 o'clock and everything will be okay. A man will go out at 10 o'clock and he'll get arrested. These are not things that are typical behaviors of women. But you don't need authority to have responsibility for a person. And you don't need to take responsibility for another adult human being anyway. my wife isn't my responsibility outside of financially right now, I would say. Outside of that, she's not my responsibility in any other capacity. My responsibility to her is to do the things that I like, to be independent, right? To make sure that I take care of myself, to make sure I'm good. You know what I mean? To make sure I contribute. That's a part of independence as well. Making sure that she doesn't have to tell me what to do. I do what I need to do, whatever, right? Like that's a part of it. Um, it's to be her partner. My responsibility, it's not her, my responsibility to her is to like not hurt her, to support her, these things. But my responsibility isn't to protect her. The only person that I'm responsible to protect my wife from is me. That's it. I'm the only person my wife expects me to protect her from. Right? Like but there's no scenario in which I should be hurting my wife. You know what I mean? There are many scenarios because I live with my wife, so it's different. I mean, I live with my wife. I work with my wife. We are in the house all day, so whatever. But um generally though, my wife would be out in the world, right? Before, she used to work. She used to go to work every day. And I wasn't there with her. I didn't see her for 12 hours a day sometimes. I would wake up, kiss my wife goodbye. She would leave the house at 7:30. I wouldn't see that woman again until 10 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see that lady for 14 hours some days. I am not responsible for her safety. Like overall, you know what I mean? Like when I'm there, yeah, we both have a responsibility to protect the house, to protect one another as best we can. No doubt about it. That's like the social contract I think we all have with one another. Added a little bit to it because there's my family members, but yeah, right. But you guys make up these dumbass scenarios, these niggatheticals, to overinflate your importance as a man to justify your desire to control a woman. That's all it is.
A lot of times as men, we're put in positions where everyone around expects us to assume responsibility for a lot of different things that we don't have control over. For example, you're assumed to be responsible for your children, yet in certain situations, you may not have control over your children. You might be assumed to have responsibility of your woman, but do you truly have control over your woman? In a lot of cases, you may be responsible for your dog, but do you have control over your dog? This is the way I try to think of things. I try to keep it very simple for myself.
He again compares women to children and dogs, and you don't have control over any humans. You shouldn't. I don't have control over my son. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Influence, yeah. Control, no.
Myself and to give myself some sort of philosophy that I can focus on to make my life simple. I believe that in such a complex world, it's really important for a man to simplify his life, take positions on certain things, or have philosophical approaches to a lot of different things and a lot of different parts of life that can get confusing when you don't have any sort of way to guide yourself as to how to make decisions. A lot of times as I should have no responsibility over your decisions if I didn't have authority over it in the first place. A lot of you guys, if you think about it when it comes to relationships, when you have a woman, naturally you know that you are responsible for her. If somebody were to walk up to your woman, slap her across the face, slap her on her butt, anything like that, she would assume that you would be responsible for her and you would step up and take action. However, you might not have any authority over the way she's dressed or where she's at. So if she goes out to the club, the same club that you don't want her to go to, however, you don't have any authority to tell her you're not going to that club. That's not the way we move. That's not the type of things we do. That's not the way I want to be represented. When she goes to that club and she ends up in a situation where this guy's bothering her, harassing her, maybe he grabs her arm and tries to be physical with her or something like that. Now you're the one who has to go to that same club and take responsibility for that entire situation, putting your life at risk. So why should you be responsible for something when you had no authority anyway?
This is what I was talking. I did a video on this the other day, but this is why I say men know it's all men, because if it's a small minority of men that are out here harassing women, what is the likelihood your woman is going to get harassed? If men in general are good and men are protectors in general, then why are you so afraid of your woman going out to the bar without you? Why are you so afraid of your woman going to the club without you? getting her arm grabbed. Mind you, it's really highly likely to happen. The reason is, though, is because most men are terrible. Men in general, especially when they get a little liquor in their system, right? I always find that talking point to be funny, how men love to defend men and be like, no, that's the men, and then they turn around, the same men be like, yeah, man, I be telling my wife she can't dress like that and she can't go out to the club because me ain't gonna grab her. Wait, what? I thought most men were protective. Well, the 2% of men, so you afraid of 2% of men finding your wife? I'm not. That's crazy. Crazy. But anyways, yeah, this dude is clearly, there's some off. He's a little off in his head, right? Let's get into what's really going on. Let's kind of peel back the layers of this.
Let's cut the bull. Most men don't want a partner. They want a possession. They don't want love. They want control. They don't want to build with you. They want to break you so you'll settle for whatever they offer. You ever notice how a man will chase you hard until he finally gets you? The moment you let your guard down, suddenly he's inconsistent. The attention slows down, the good morning text disappear, because it was never about you. It was about winning. Once he feels like he owns you, the effort stops. Men love women they can manipulate. That's why they prefer a woman who's naive, insecure, or soft. Because they know a woman who understands her worth is a threat. That's why the moment you set a boundary, demand respect, or refuse to tolerate their bull, suddenly you're too difficult, too masculine, and too independent. They don't want to be men. They want to be pampered toddlers with unlimited access to your body, your time, and your emotional labor. They want you to pay half the bills, but still do 100% of the cooking, the cleaning, and the child care. They expect you to be exhausted from working and running a household, yet still be horny on demand when they decide they need sex. They want you to be emotionally available, heal their traumas, but when you need support, suddenly you're too emotional. And let's talk about cheating. Men don't just cheat, they mentally and emotionally destroy a woman in the process. They will lie to you for months and gaslight you into thinking you're crazy for suspecting anything at all. And then the second they get caught, it's your fault. Suddenly, you weren't giving them enough attention. You were nagging. You weren't sexy enough. No accountability. No remorse, just psychological warfare to make you question your reality. And here's the biggest truth they don't want you to know. Most of them don't even like women. They like the access. They like the comfort. They like what you do for them. That's why they'll drain you, destroy your confidence, and call you damaged when you finally leave. They never planned on loving you. They planned on using you. So to the women watching this, wake up and stop making excuses for these men. Stop believing the lies. You are not crazy, you are not unworthy, and you are not asking for too much. You're just finally seeing through the bull. To the men who feel attacked, if this message offends you, that's because it applies. And remember, ladies, accept nothing less than queen treatment.
Oh man, that was cute at the end. I ain't gonna lie. Where do we begin? But no, seriously though, I agree with what he was saying. I think it's weird when men be like, ladies, let me tell you what to do. Like, they know what's up. But anyways, no, but what he's saying though is true. All that stuff is true without a doubt. But the control, the the men want control. Like, so they go to great lengths to gain access, to gain control, to gain power, just so they can abuse it, just so they could cheat in peace, so they could, like, get whatever out of her, get the men want to get labor out of her, they want babies, they want like all those things he named, the emotional support and all that stuff. Expecting emotional support, not giving it, is also very controlling. It's men try to control women on so many levels. You just see it like over and over and over again.
All right. So we all know in relationships, you have controlling partners or people who like to control their partner. And I've heard a lot of women mention dating controlling men, or mentioning why this man wants to control me or why he's so controlling. And it's for one reason and one reason only. Control makes him feel safe. That's all it is. Some guys don't believe that their woman will choose them day in and day out. They don't really trust her devotion or her loyalty. So by controlling her, they believe that if I can control this person, then they'll stay.
That's why men systemically are doing the things that they're doing to women, taking away all their rights and access to child care. I mean, to health care, reproductive health care, taking away their access to go to school, trying to take away their vote because they don't want women to leave. Like it's out of fear. Don't get me wrong. Like it is. It's out of fear that women will not choose us because we know we're not worthy to be chose. But instead of us being like, okay, let me, let me raise my money up and not my funny up, we get on, we like, nah, I'm gonna raise my funny up.
I won't get left. I won't get abandoned. They don't think they have the material to hold on to her where they get chose every single day. So it's simple. So they got to control you. And that's all it is. The problem with a controlling man, is that human beings or people in general, especially if you're in your 20s, you would have lived your life and established your personality, your character by that point, So you already have your values, your beliefs, and your thought process. The problem with dealing with a controlling man is he's got two strategies in order to control you. He'll either use money, so he'll pay for everything and he'll make sure you do absolutely nothing. You might think that's a gesture, or you might think, oh, this guy's like, he's taking care of me, he's making sure I'm patterned. But at the same time, if he makes sure that you're the baby in the relationship or you have to do nothing, then he more controls you. Does that make sense? That's why you get certain little arguments where the guy will say, well, I pay for everything, or I pay all the bills, or I sort all of this, or get out of my house, or do this, or do that. In the beginning, it's a good thing, but after a while, you start getting controlled because it's basically like he's holding all this good treatment over your head. Remember as well, if you're in a relationship with someone and it's genuine, a gesture of love is just a gesture of love. If you do something for someone, you did it. You're not keeping score.
I think the thing, and I'm just noticing this because y'all know I react to stuff in real time. I'm listening to what they're saying, and I agree with what he's saying. Don't get me wrong, but the thing that it always annoys me is that I just feel like these messages could just go so much further if you reposition who your target audience is. Women are going to hear it no matter what, right? Trust me, take it from me. Women are going to hear these messages no matter what. I get it, right? But you should be lacing all of this with, it should be very like male coded. It should be for men to digest, for men to process. It shouldn't be for like, yeah, so when women or let me explain to these women what they're going through. Like you don't have to do that. Just you can talk about it from a male perspective. The women will hear it and they will get the same message from it. They do it all the time. I prove it all the time on my channel. I won't be talking about shit. That has nothing to do with women. I'm saying like I'm not talking to women. I'm talking about the behaviors of men. Women hear it and they go, "Oh yeah, no, I can identify with that. My boyfriend did that. My husband did that. My dad." Like, it's fine. Now we're all making that connection, but I'm still talking to men about men. It just always comes off to me like it comes off as redundant when men are like going to women and being like, let me tell you something, women. Let me tell you about men. Like they get it, bro. Trust me, they do. They get it. And there's enough female content creators telling women what to do and how to do it or whatever. And they're better than both you and I. They what I mean, it's very female coded what they're saying, the perspectives that they give, the language that they use, and all of that stuff. All of it. You know what I'm saying? The verbiage, all of that stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, come on, man. I just want men to get on board with really addressing men and men behavior. I'm cool with him calling them because he is calling men out still. That's why I like the first dude call men out, but then it, meanders off into this like, and let me tell you another thing, ladies, protect yourself at all times when you're in the ring. And like, I just leave that shit alone. Just leave it alone, bro.
That makes sense. You're not supposed to say, well, I did all of these things for you. It's just like you did it. It's a gesture. That makes sense. With controlling men is though, everything they do, there's strings attached. Because the aim of the game is to control you. So that's the first strategy, using money and making sure you're well looked after. You won't ask any questions. You can't really say nothing to him because of the power dynamic. There's a power imbalance because he sorts everything. You're the baby in the relationship. Baby can't really pipe up to an adult in that weird, twisted dynamic. That makes sense? So that's how a lot of women end up being controlled. They get paid, they get bought, and they'll put up with it. Especially if you're a woman that grew up in poverty. Do you understand? You'll look at all this good treatment, you'll think, you know what, I don't want to let this go. I don't want to go back to my reality because my reality was bleak. I was living in turmoil. So let me just dance to this man's tune and change myself and be a doll for this guy as long as I keep getting that good treatment. Yeah. Number two, if you're a lot more of a stronger woman or a stronger person, then you have to use the second strategy. This strategy is very abusive and demonic, but he has to neg you. He has to put you down. That makes sense? He has to break you. What's the best way to break someone? Is to chip away at their confidence over time. So every little dig, every time he makes you feel stupid, every time he talks down to you, every time he tells you this could be better or that could be better, every time he's overly critical, 99% of the time, none of that stuff he's saying about you is true. Because if it was true, everybody in your life would have told you about yourself. Does that make sense? You're not some big, bad, scary villain that everyone that's ever met you is scared to tell you about yourself. I'm sure you would have heard people make certain comments. So if nobody's ever made these comments about you, but this person, that's them just trying to control and manipulate you. Does that make sense?
Or for me, it's like if a woman only is hearing this from men, then I'm like, there's a chance that it's not true. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like these men are naked because most men are naked. So it's not just that, like if nobody told her or whatever, because some of the stuff you wouldn't know unless you were in an intimate, in an intimate relationship with the opposite sex. But like if you only, just like men saying the same thing, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know if it's real or not. I'm looking at it from the perspective of a woman. It's hard to know if 5 men have said the same thing. Maybe it's true. Or maybe 5 men are fucking negging her. You know what I mean? Because men are negging is a very common tactic that men employ. So, it's hard. It's just tough. It's tough to navigate as a woman, I can imagine.
And over time, if you're in a relationship with a person who claims to love you and claims to care about you, you will listen to what this person has to say. It will sink into your mind. And you'll start changing yourself so that you can fit this person's criteria. Do you know what I mean? And then that's now how that person controls you, by destabilizing you and getting you to second guess yourself. So that's all it is. And before you know it, you'll be dancing to that man's tune like the Pied Piper. So yeah, man, controlling men. If you see any of them signs, run like the gingerbread man. Do you understand?
All right. I love how they tell women that, like, as if women wouldn't run away if they could clock that at the time. Whatever. Anyways, yeah, man, I agree with all of that, and I thought it was important to make sure we showed men that there's men out here that they understand, right? Some men understand, most men don't. And I love when men call out other men. Y'all know that. We got to take it. We got to take it out. We can take it because even the men that call out men 99% of the time, they want to, address women for some strange reason. But anyways, that's it. Controlling men do so out of fear. They fear that the woman is going to leave them, and because they know they're not good enough for that, or they think they're not good enough for the woman. They could be good enough for the woman if they weren't controlling. You know what I'm saying? Like the woman chose them for a reason. Just don't be controlling. Be genuine. She'll like you, right? There's always that.